Welcome to After the Call, the podcast dedicated to the stories and struggles behind the badge, the turnout gear, and the uniform. Each week, we'll bring you a powerful conversations with first responders, mental health professionals, and advocates who are breaking the stigma, sharing their journeys, and offering real solutions. We'll talk about PTSD resilience, family impact, and the resources that can make a difference. Because the job doesn't just leave scars on the body, it affects the mind, the heart, and the people who serve alongside us. And no one should have to carry that burden alone. This is After the Call, where you'll find strength through resilience.
So welcome to After the Call. I'm your host, Patrick. This is my co-host, Veronica, and we are here with Erica and Stacy from Guided Journey. This is always a really good topic for me to talk about because I love doing ketamine. Not in the sense of recreational, but for what it does for you mentally. I've been one of those people that's been on that journey for a while. So I'm very eager to see where your stance is on it, where you guys kind of were brought into it, why you guys were brought into all that stuff. So go ahead and just kind of start wherever you guys want to start.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I'm Stacy Sledge. I'm a therapist of 26 years. So that's my background is in mental health therapy. And my partner, Erica, we decided to start Guided Journeys together after going through an extensive year-long training to kind of master ketamine, to understand psilocybin, MDMA, and a couple other plant-based medicines to understand it in the therapy space. So as a therapist for 26 years, seeing people go through ketamine therapy, or what they would call ketamine therapy, and having people come out with not such great situations or responses, having our own clients going through it and hearing stories that didn't sound quite right, you were in a sterile room or that happened. That's when we decided to kind of go through the training and to understand the importance of doing it with psychotherapy. So that's how Guided Journeys came to be.
Yeah.
So,
or like that they would have to go back. Right. So it's like you'd get this treatment and then 6 months later you'd have to go back and get another 4 treatments. And it's like, well, if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, then the idea is that you wouldn't have to.
No, I get that. But, if you're still on the job and you still get injured, I mean, you got to get maintenance or whatever. But to start over, I see your point. You wouldn't have to do that.
Right.
So we'll have to talk more about like the psilocybin stuff. Have you like dove into Bufo?
not personally, no.
So I just did it.
Yes.
I just did it. So at an undisclosed location.
Yes.
But we'll have to talk.
Yes.
Because it's pretty wild.
Yes. That's my understanding as well. So
cool. So all right. So obviously, what is the way that you guys approach your treatment for the ketamine? Because I've done good places, bad places, and then finally I have like my go-to place now.
Yeah.
And
that's what it's about.
I've had good experiences and bad.
Yeah. And that's about finding your spot. If that's your place and you're comfortable there and you're making progress and you're seeing, your journey panning out, then that's the place for you. Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. And we try to just be collaborative. So what we do a little bit differently, couple of different things. As licensed professional therapists, we provide that ketamine therapy, psychotherapy with the treatment. So it's all under one roof. A lot of places will do the ketamine and then have you kind of go outsource to go to a therapist, follow through, those types of things. We do everything under one roof. We also are able to bill insurance. So as therapists, we can bill for the intake. So I'll tell you the process. So first there's an intake, then there's a med appointment with our med provider. Then there is a prep session. So in that prep session, we're discussing setting and getting you mentally, emotionally, physically prepared for what your journey is going to look like. Whether you're going to journey on a bed, whether you're going to journey on a couch, whether you're going to journey on the zero gravity lazy boy chair. You can kind of choose where you want to journey. We set the music up for you. So you under the bilateral stimulation music that is played in the room, the eye shades so that you're in your journey. Not outward with your journey. So we get all of that preparation going for you. And then the day of your journey, you're with us for 3 hours. So that's a little bit of prep work in the beginning, setting your intentions, just getting mentally, emotionally prepared. The journey then is about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how you metabolize the medicine, how long you're in the journey. And then we're with you for a full hour after. And that's the first part of the integration, so that you're getting the integration while you're on, coming out of the medicine. We're also with you during that entire time, so that we're journaling anything that's happening, anything that you're doing, anything that you're saying, any movements, anything, because as you know, some people don't talk at all, or some people talk a lot, but don't remember anything that they talked about or anything that they did when they came out. So to have that documentation is really beautiful. And then 24 to 48 hours later is another therapy integration session. And then then it's repeated journey, integration, journey, integration for the 4 to 6 sessions. So that's a little bit of how it's different for us.
Well, and we really try to sit with the evidence-based protocol, right? So it's like 70 to 80% will see sustainable results after a year with ketamine in conjunction with the psychotherapy in this way. So we really try to stick with that evidence base because we want to provide you the best practice of care. The other thing that we offer too is we offer an optional brain map. So I'm very big into data, right? So it's not just like, okay, I feel better. It's you now see your pre and your post. So we offer an NMT assessment, which is kind of like a brain map that identifies what areas of your brain might have compromised based off of your experiences, right? And then we give recommendations while you're under the treatment. That's not necessarily even therapeutic, but just things that you can be doing in home to help rewire and reorganize those lower parts of the brain. So I just did an annual assessment with a 42-year-old male, and his results have been sustainable. And he's just looking at me going, I have all this extra capacity. Like, he's struggled with chronic PTSD, depression, anxiety for his entire life. And it's like, and now he goes, what do? I have all this extra energy and all this extra capacity. And it's like, where do I redirect this energy? Yeah. So I think it's not just about let's help rewire your brain, but like also give you the tools so in that way going back out into the world, right? Even on the job, right? What are some different tools and different strategies that you can be using when those traumatic experiences come up? Instead of just kind of setting you off and being like, well, I'm used to putting out a lot of fires, so now that I have all this capacity and I don't have these fires, like, what do I do?
Do we still have fires as a firefighter? Like,
not that I've seen.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I want to make sure.
Seen a lot of sick patients.
So here's my question then, because I don't think a lot of people realize pre and post, like what their brain actually looks like, right? I mean, obviously you're in that fight, flight, freeze mentality. Your brain is like really starting to shut down. Everything's kind of like collapsing inward, and it's just the core that's keeping you alive, right? So can you explain a little bit about how the ketamine starts to open those neural pathways and kind of reintegrates your total brain versus like how you were saying how he was getting more capacity, how he's getting more of that
access
and stuff.
Yeah. And I think if you think of the brain like water, right? Like when we're in that birth to 5 stage, it's like mist, right? You just blow and it moves. When you are in that child adolescent stage, it becomes kind of like a pond, right? Like you can throw a rock in, you can get some splashes, but you're definitely just going to get the ripples. And then when you become an adult, it's like a block of ice, right? Like you can take an ice chipper, and you can make a really beautiful ice sculpture. It just takes a lot more time, a lot more effort, a lot more consistency, right? And that's sometimes what we don't want to put in, is that time and that effort. So with ketamine, what it does is it opens your brain back up to kind of be a pond again, right? So you're not missed, but you're definitely more malleable. And so while your brain's kind of open in that state, it's what are we wanting to, rewire? What kind of habits are we wanting to get rid of? What kind of habits are we wanting to bring in? Kind of things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a good way to describe it. It's just having your brain in that altered state of consciousness and it just opening it up to receive. And it's just during that time that all the neural network pathways are just rewiring and finding their new growth patterns and letting go of that fight or flight. So it's like putting a pause on that fight or flight mechanism that you're so used to being in.
I think the other thing too, when your brain is open like that, and this is something so I used to be married to a police officer, and if I would have known the things that I know now, like maybe we wouldn't be divorced. I mean, I don't know, but it's like.
They're hard.
Well, it's like, like I didn't understand, I didn't understand why he'd come home and then it was like he'd just crash or he'd be taking a shower for 2 hours and I'm like, but I just made dinner and the kids, and then it's like, and then he'd come down to eat and I'd sit there and I'm just like, let me tell you about Price is Right and what the kids did because obviously I wasn't at home mom. So, and he just was done, but then his buddy would call and he's like, hey, okay, I'm up. Like, it's like, so I think one of the biggest things too is that when your brain's in that kind of rewirable state, if you're doing all this work and you're doing all this healing, but then you're going home and you have a spouse or significant other that has vicarious trauma or is used to you responding in a certain way, that you're just rewiring back in, right? And so what we do is we also offer that discount and offer that help to the family unit. Right? So it's like while the first responder's going through, can we also get the significant other to go through too? So we're rewiring at the same time.
That's good.
So we're then developing a different role and a different relationship within that.
And that's also part of the therapeutic part is to have the ketamine, but then how do I continue to hold that space so that I don't go back into old habits? It's how do we keep that ketamine alive? Right. And so talking about all of the things that you do to continue to hold that space and continue to find your peace, hold your peace, whatever your word might be. We give that kind of a safe word type thing to put you back into that space and remember that ketamine so that you're holding on to it longer. Yeah.
So I do have a question. You talk about the 4 to 6 sessions. Is there any... do you guys continue therapy sessions without the ketamine following that? Or are they just like, once they're done with their 4 to 6 sessions with you guys, they're off to their own or different therapists?
A combination. So as far as the guided journeys piece, we will continue with them for some checkups. Maybe so we usually do like a 1 month checkup, a 6 month checkup, and a 1 year checkup for us personally. I also own Iridescent Counseling, which is a larger group practice, and we have 25 therapists on staff there. So if they don't have their own therapist, we will transition them to somebody that we can then coordinate services, and then that therapist knows, all of the therapists within Iridescent know about ketamine and have been educated on ketamine. So if we transfer them to somebody else, then they are receiving that care, and then they're also receiving all of the notes and staffing, what their ketamine experience was so that they can help support the continuum of that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When are you going to try it?
She's like, you need to do all the things.
Absolutely. Well, we had to in our training. We went through like I mentioned, the year-long training, and it was required to participate in ketamine. It was terrible. I mean, how can you force me to do this? But no, I wouldn't do something or recommend something that I haven't tried.
Gotcha.
Right. So we did go through it, and so
yeah, I had a shit ton of anxiety. I was like, I don't want to lose control. I don't want to be vulnerable. Like like absolutely not. And then I was like, all right, my intention is I just want to go through and not die. Because I'm a single mom, right? Like my kid, I do not want to orphan my children. Like I don't want to do drugs. I don't want to do any of that kind of stuff. And then I went through it and it was like life-changing. And I'm just like...
Yeah. It's rough the first time.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. For me, like it was rough going in, but then the minute I was in, it was just like, oh yeah, this is... My brain was like, here's all... Because your brain and your body really are experts and know what you need to heal.
Yep.
Sure. Right. No, the reason I say that was rough, and this is just my take on it. So my wife was in the room, and she was like literally climbing up the wall, like on the roof, and...
No, she was not literally
Not
doing
literally
that.
in my mind.
She was having an exorcism?
But I was, yeah, pretty much. And I was like frozen in the chair,
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. Like, this is crazy for me.
Yeah.
Because I've lost all control. Never did anything drug-wise at first like this ever. And then I was like freaking out in my mind, like, when is this going to end?
Yeah. And those are reasons why we have therapists in the room, why we're in the room. So if we see or sense that you're going through it or you're having a rough spot, then we're to help there to guide you through that. Whether it's therapeutic touch, whether it's holding a hand. I had a retired officer that was some hand holding. He was in the chair, and all of a sudden he just went, And I went over and held his hands for 45 minutes. I should have sat down, but he wouldn't let me go. So that's a hand holding thing because he was going through it, you know, so that, or even talking through it, whatever it is that to help guide you through that process, because we want you to lean into it.
Sure.
Because whatever you're going through is your brain's working through something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not meant to scare you. So, no. And I think the clinic I went to the first time, it was just, they didn't understand
Right.
my profession,
Right.
that loss of control, you know, needing to be in control and stuff like that. So they kind of just let it happen. And I was like, fuck.
We have to think about it from a different perspective too, where it's just like, you know, first responders are already vulnerable. You're physically vulnerable and putting yourself into a vulnerable state every day, like every day that you're on the job.
Yeah.
So then when it comes to things like the mental or the emotional capacity, right, that's something you can control.
Right.
Right. If you think of like kids growing up, you know, like they don't have any control over their environment. Right. So if something's going wrong or if, you know, they're experiencing trauma, you know, they control what they can, which can come through like eating disorders or, you know, like cutting or things like that. And it's no different when we become adults. You know, if we're constantly in an unpredictable, vulnerable state, we're going to try to control what we can.
Yeah.
Right. So then when we're asking people to go through and allow themselves to be vulnerable and let go of what they've learned how, like, this is the only control that they have.
Right.
Like that, I mean, it's asking a lot. Which is why we do it the way that we do it too, because some of the medical, you know, like they hook you up to an IV, you know, and then you're stuck there, or they'll do like the injections, you know, the intermuscular. But we kind of use the troches, and we've found that there's no difference in the experience that you're having.
What's a troche?
So a troche is more of like a lozenge that you put underneath your tongue. Right.
It's like a wax type of a feel, but it dissolves under your tongue.
Okay.
Yeah. And so what we've noticed is like the other ones, it's just like we're throwing you right in, right? Like you're going in the deep end. With the troches, it's kind of like more of this subtle,
like a slow release.
Yeah.
Slower onset. Yeah.
Slower
so you're not
onset.
like,
and then you're like,
pushed
oh,
off
I'm
a
starting
ledge.
to feel relaxed. Okay, my body's starting to feel light. This isn't so scary. And so you're more inclined to let go.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done only infusions, so
Yeah.
you're kind of stuck. Yeah.
and so IV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Microdosing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Through the IV.
So, and we like the troches again too, because a lot of people are very playful with their hands and their arms and playing the guitar or, you know, jamming out to the music. Oh, absolutely. Jamming out to the music. The other thing that we do is a lot of places do music through headphones. We do it out in the room. So we're experiencing it with you. We're really big on being in that journey with you. So we know what the music is. If the music is a little sad or the music is upbeat or something like that, because a lot of people will then want the playlist after because it'll bring them back to the journey, and also so that the headphones so we know what's going on if the music's too loud, or I think you had an experience where the music cut out and when you're in the middle of a journey and how are you supposed to say hello, like the music's gone. So that's another component that we do differently as well.
A lot of times too with that, I've heard a lot of my clients being like, I felt you in there, right? Like I felt you holding space, or you became like this jellyfish, you know, and it was just like, I'm just sitting next to you, you know, like, but there is this, because if you think of it, like you're in this expanded state of consciousness, right? And so it's like, it would make sense that your consciousness is expanding. And so then that's like including whatever's in your space in that time. So a lot of people will end up feeling that, you know, and feel that safety almost as if you're really holding that space.
I've gone on a lot of journeys with people.
Yeah.
Well,
You
we're
were
gonna
there
do, we're
with
gonna
me.
do one now. Let's,
Where's the truth?
no,
Yeah, you were there with me.
I like everything that you're saying. I've never done it the way that you guys talk. And the reason being is the clinics I've gone to, you kind of just get hooked up and then they leave the room. Not the current one, but the ones in the past I didn't like, right? And then you're kind of just left to your own thoughts, which is fine, you know?
If you're experienced with it, right?
Sure.
I think that definitely if you're experienced with it, that might be an okay process, but definitely if you're not, or, you know, even if you are experienced, when you're talking through things, people have said such amazing things. And to not have that documented, to have somebody writing that down and say, oh my gosh, I did say that, or that must have been when I was, right? Then they can relate to, and it's just, it connects it all because they can relate to, oh, that's when I was walking through the forest, or that's when I found that dog in my journey, you know?
I have no idea what I'd want to say.
And some people don't. I am like stone cold silent. I want to talk, but I think it's the medicine. I talk so much. So the medicine's probably like, you should just shut up.
So relax.
And for me, I totally move. Like I'm like, I'm gonna dance and I'm gonna pretend like I play instruments, and like I'm free, you know, like, because again, when you're so used to having control and then all of a sudden you actually allow yourself to flow, like your body's like, oh, thank God, she's finally letting me go. You know, I'm just gonna do whatever I want.
That's weird.
Yeah. So, question then on people who like are either sensitive to regular medications, so like the anesthesia, right? Ketamine sometimes an anesthesia and things, or hydrocodones or if they're sensitive to that, does that affect them any differently when they go into a ketamine session?
Yes, and
Okay.
the reason why we found this out was because I am what they call a poor metabolizer.
Okay.
So I'm a cheap date, which means you give me just the normal amount, and I'm in it for 2 hours.
Gotcha.
Like my brain goes, I'm going to absorb it, and I'm not going to, right? Or, you know, when we've had to do other experientials with some other of the psychedelics in our training, it's like, I'm dead to the world for like 6 hours, and everybody else it's like 3. So that's why we kind of have the protocol that we do, is that there are also some people that are ultra metabolizers, right? So we might start them off with their correct dose, but then they're out of it in 20 minutes. Or 40
Yeah, like
minutes.
I know for me personally, like I am very sensitive to medication. So I remember I'm also allergic to oxycodone. But I remember taking it, and I sat there and I was like, oh my God, I know now why people get hooked on this. Like it just went like, I felt all of it go through, and I was like, wow. And then I broke out in really bad hives, and I was like, well, I'll never get hooked on this because this will happen. But yeah, so, and then,
Same.
and even coming out of anesthesia, it takes me days to come out of that. Like, I just don't feel right at all. So,
Yeah, and you just might need a lower dose. And I think that's what you were starting to say, is that why we do the 4 to 6. The protocol of doing just 2 it's not gonna cut it. The first one is always the oh shit meter, right? It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what to expect. It's like figuring it out. And then journey 2 is I got it. I'm nailing it. And then 3, 4, and on are like, I've got it, you know? And then we can increase or change the dose. So we start off at the lowest dose for your weight. And if we need to go lower, just, you know, even to just prepare you, then that's not a problem. Then we can go and change doses from there.
And even kind of going off of what you were saying, right? Like being out for a couple days after anesthesia. Like when I went through, like my brain was just kind of like, I don't want to make any decision. Like I was off, you know, but it
that's
was
how
like,
I felt. I was just,
but I
way
was
off.
chill.
But it's a
like,
good thing.
My kids were like, Mom, dude, like this is freaking me out right now. And it's just like, yeah, man, I just don't.
And I'm
wanna make
always
any
like so busy, and so I hated it. I was like, oh my God, there are so many things I should be doing, but I was like so out of it. I couldn't think to do the things. I just was like, it wasn't so weird for me.
Yeah. And you probably had a pretty high dose. If it was a procedure or something like that, it's definitely a significantly higher dose than would be for like a therapeutic dose too.
And that's
But
why,
yeah,
and that's why it's really, really important for the psychotherapy piece though.
Right.
Because if you're just going under and it's like you're just getting hooked up and then you're like, ugh, I'm feeling this way for a couple days and I don't like it.
Right.
You know,
We want you to embrace
we want
it
you to
for a couple
embrace-
days.
Right. Like what is it that's making you so uncomfortable about slowing down? What is it that, you know, like
I just feel like there's not enough time in the day to get all the things done that I have to do.
But that's the therapy part, to say we sit with that though. Be with that. Like enjoy being offline and just wanting to just sit back and observe the world.
like let's look at the balance. There's a balance between, you know, like accelerating and braking, you know, and a lot of people, we accelerate. And I think the biggest thing that people don't understand is that, you know, we distract ourselves every day. Right? We're just, go. And so we don't necessarily feel our feelings as they come up, or we, you know, kind of dissociate or check out, or, you know, whatever that looks like. But those emotions never go away. Right? They get locked in our body. And so they're going to manifest. Right? Whether that's autoimmune disorders, whether that's cancers, or how many people do you know that, you know, it's like, oh, I can't take a day off work. And then all of a sudden you get sick. you're forced to take because we're not listening to our bodies. We're not balancing our bodies. Right?
Or we wish we could take a day off, and then we get sick, and now we're pissed.
Yes,
that we're sick
exactly.
and have to stay in bed. I'm like, didn't I wish for this?
Yeah.
I thought I...
Maybe healthy. Maybe a healthy day off.
But you don't take it.
Yeah.
Nope.
I mean, I don't take a day off to just sit and Netflix and chill.
Yeah. Like I took a week off of work and I was like, oh my God, when's the last time I've been like not working for a week? It was insane to me. I was like, I'm going to have so much to do when I get back. And it was more stressful for me to be off that week than it was relaxing.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's the ketamine
did you
switch.
relax? Or did you get other things done that you needed to get done around your house?
No, I literally did nothing. Like I was sick
Okay.
of sleeping. I was sick of laying on the couch. I was like, I'm sick of TV. Like I'm over this laying around doing. But now that I'm back to normal and working again, I'm just like, oh man, I wish I had appreciated that moment a little
exactly.
more.
And that's part of the ketamine experience is that shift to be able to sit back and chill and appreciate.
So how long does it take someone to come off? So people who are working and on shifts and things, when can they schedule something like that, and how will it affect them at work, or will it or not?
Right. Yeah, and every career, every profession is different. You know, officers sworn are definitely different population than firefighters and first responders and EMT and things like that in terms of their schedule and in terms of the what's the word I'm looking for? Acceptance of it, right? The way that we do it is if you're doing 4 journeys, the best ideal situation is 2 a week. 2 a week for 2 weeks or 2 a week for 3 weeks is your best case scenario. So taking the time off that day, the next day you can go back to work, right? It's like having an outpatient procedure, anesthesia, you're out and you're fine the next day. If you can take that next day off, that is the ideal situation. So if you can have PTO or FMLA or something like that to take the time to really nurture yourself, great. But if you can't, you can't. And if you do have to go back to work, you can. And it's almost like practicing your skill. So if you have to go back to work, then now you're practicing your skill, and that's the therapy part, to say, how are you going to go back to your job with this new mental space? What are you going to do differently? And that's a lot of the therapeutic implications of that. So that, or we can even do 3 a week if you wanted to do 6 sessions, we could do 3 a week. So it'd be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday dosing.
And as a civilian too, it's like our biggest thing is talk to your commander, like talk to the person in charge and see what their requirements are, because some of them will say like, hey, we don't want to risk this, so take FMLA, right? Or if, some of them are, again, like she's saying, like this is a good opportunity to then practice these new skills in the stressful environment, right? Mm-hmm. So we're rewiring your brain for the stress and how to navigate and, like counteract that, with those coping skills versus, I just took 2 weeks of, FMLA and I've just been so relaxed and now I have to go back into this, hypervigilant state and like I didn't have any opportunity to practice and now my brain's not back online, right? So there can, and if you think about it too, ketamine is not, it's not a drug that's tested on your drug panels, right? Because it's not a drug, it's a medicine. Right? Like it's an anesthetic. So this is what people, if you go in for colonoscopy. Yeah, she always says colonoscopy. You go in for a colonoscopy.
You're going to go back to work the next day and there's no problem. You can go back to work the next day.
It's not comfortable.
You didn't have enough ketamine for your colonoscopy.
You need a new doctor.
Yeah. I don't know what they did to you, but
yeah.
That was not a colonoscopy.
It's true.
But
I don't know what you and Josh did on the side.
That's my
I
man
got my
crush.
degree online.
You got a certification.
But yeah, you're able to go back to work. And then also there's a lot of communication about it. It's prescribed by a doctor. It's a prescription. You have the prescription. You're taking the exact dose that you're prescribed. Right. It's,
And the half-life is really quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the half-life is really quick, right? So it's like if people are worried about like, okay, is this gonna come off, like in a drug panel, or what if they do decide to test? It's like, I mean, it's out of your bloodstream within like 24, 48 hours, right? And then it's like, I think it stays in your hair follicles. If somebody was to test your hair follicles, like maybe not yours.
That's why I shaved my head.
There is no evidence.
It's gone.
But it's like, but I think it only stays in that for like maybe 2 weeks.
No,
Like minimal, you know? So,
It's a rapid, other than a slower metabolizer. So maybe.
So a fear that I had, and I don't know if anybody else has ever brought this up to you, but so obviously you start getting a lot of trauma, you become fearless, right? You become dangerous. You start causing.
desensitized.
Sure. That's the professional term, but right. So we start running into dangers that we shouldn't be doing, right? So the fear that I had was after doing ketamine, am I going to lose that inability to be fearless? So what would you guys say to that?
No. No, but
you know
you're
what I'm
absolutely
saying?
right.
Yeah.
And that is a fear of many people is it going to change me, right? Because especially in the first responder community, right? You can't just be like, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
You know? No, don't care. No, it just changes that fear-based response where you are opening and closing that brain where you're just like fear-based, close, fear-based, close, fear. It quiets that. Right. So yes, you do still have that adrenaline. You still have that fighter. You can still go into that. It's just you're not sitting there the whole time. You're able to better regulate the times when it's necessary versus the times when it's not necessary.
And that, and just kind of going off of that, if you think of what happens, right? Like there's a difference between being reactive and proactive, right? So a lot of times, you're going in and it's like your cortex is shut down, right? Like you are in that survival mode and you are just going. Right. So with ketamine and stuff, what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep that reasoning open, but still like you're still able to do the things. Right. But you're able to then logisticize and reason a little bit better because you're in more of that regulated state while you're making this choice.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
That's good.
Get real close to Patrick's face because I have a question. Do you have any like noteworthy experiences of any first responders that you've dealt with? Well, I mean, if you're getting invited, sure.
Can we get this on camera? This is really cute.
we have quite the pro crush.
Yes, they do.
But do you have any experiences of any first responders firsthand of them going through your treatments and what they've experienced and how it changed them?
Yeah. A couple. A veteran. I have to talk about my veteran client, 76-year-old veteran client that is, PTSD of 50 years, that I've worked with for probably 8 years, maybe more, just with traditional therapy, EMDR, we've done it all. And it just wasn't cutting it. We're hitting that brick wall where we're just not quite, going over. And he was just amazing. He was very talkative. He was moving. He was just vibing with it. Absolutely. He actually did 4 and then did another 2 because he was just in heaven with it. But his overall outcome, after he came out of his second one, with tears rolling down his face, is I didn't know I could feel this way. I had no idea I could feel this way. And 8 years I've been working with him. And we're 8 months post his journeys now, and I still see him. I saw not as I was seeing him weekly. I see him now every 3 weeks, and it's just more of like a check-in and how things are going because he has just shifted his mentality and shifted his entire life, based on it. So, and then I had the retired patrol officer. He was also a canine, as a matter of fact. He was the one that I was holding the hands. That he was going, Stace, and he was like in a similar situation of just after 2.5 years of being retired and having dreams every single night and being on the job every single night and just not being able to unwire and unravel. He was just retired 2.5 years, but still on the job. And then not having motivation because there's nothing to spark me. There's nothing to get me going. I can't find the balance between the two worlds. And just spoke to him yesterday, as a matter of fact, and redid all his test scores and his PHQ-9 and his PCL-5 and things like that for PTSD. And it's significantly less. He's just like, I have capacity. I have motivation. I'm getting things done. I'm not at a heightened state of alert. My road rage is significantly down. Things like that. So, yeah, all really cool experiences. And then what people talk about and see in their experiences are always, cool stories. Yeah.
Very good.
I definitely want to try your guys's approach to it versus what I've experienced, because I kind of just check out and watch The Office, and I let that do my thing. So
check out and watch The Office while you're on.
yeah. So I do a pain and mental health protocol.
Okay.
So my doses usually last about 3 hours
Okay.
for the
makes
microdrip.
sense. Yeah.
But I hit a K-hole too. So I go pretty extreme with mine because I've experienced it. And it's scary at first, but now I'm kind of welcoming to it. So
I think that's the other thing is, like I've talked to a couple police officers where it's like, because ketamine has been so rampant on the streets and stuff, it almost becomes a trauma, right? Where it's like, my trauma is ketamine because I've had to see people on it. And so I don't, I have no
Why would
interest
I do
in-
that?
Why would I do that? And I remember growing up and seeing people in the K-hole and I'm like, oh, that does not look fun at all. Like that
it's
doesn't,
weird.
yeah, like that doesn't look, appealing to me.
But when you do it in the right space, right, and that's all the preparation and the therapeutic alliance and the environment and all of those things are very different than. Same thing with what other medicines people are using. You can use psilocybin as another amazing psychedelic for transformation and therapeutic use. You can use it to party and have a good time as well, or you can also use it for real therapeutic purposes. So your intentions, the intentions and the setting are extremely important. So,
and because we went through that training too, once psilocybin does become legalized, we meet all of the criteria for the education to kind of hit the ground running as a treatment facility with that. So that's, one of the other benefits of going through and having to take a 250-page or question final for.
It's a little more than a certification.
It was ridiculous, but, and I think it's just, a little bit different for everybody. I had one guy who I think people are so used to having to go through stuff on their own, right? And a lot of these other places, and I'm really happy with a lot of, more people are incorporating coaching now, and they're really trying to meet that kind of best practice model, which is fantastic. And we're very big in collaborating too. So we've collaborated with some of these medical clinics that don't have the therapy, because it's not just about, come to us, right? It's like, okay, well, if you're going to do it in this medical setting, how can we, we've partnered with Lighthouse Psychiatry, we've partnered with the Arizona Awatuki ketamine drip clinic, so it's like, how can we offer those services for your clients to where then, we're still providing that best practice of care to everybody. But we, a lot of times people are so used to going through it alone, that I had one client that started to kind of have a very challenging experience, and that's what we call it. I think people are like, I don't want to have a bad trip. I'm afraid of having a bad trip. And it's like, well, there are no bad trips, right? We welcome challenging experiences because
you're moving through stuff.
You're moving through stuff and you're releasing a lot of this stuff, right? So it's like the more challenging it is, the deeper your healing can be, right? And so I had one guy, he's like, oh my God, I felt like I was going through a trash bag, and I was, and I was just talking to myself going, okay, nope, this is for healing. Just, no, don't focus on that. Just, we're doing this for healing. And I'm like, no, man, go in the trash bag. And he goes, what? I was like, okay, so next time, just let's talk the entire time. And so then he literally talked, and his next session was, oh my gosh, he saw his inner child and who was riding on a brontosaurus. And then all of a sudden, and then he's like,
familiar.
we're walking in this, this orb or whatever. I was like, well, can you melt into the orb? He goes, melt into it? Okay. And then he melted into it. I was like, so what do you see? He's like, dirt. And I'm like, okay, well, did the child follow you? And he goes, no, wait, he's looking in. So is the brontosaurus, and then all of a sudden he turned into a seed that germinated up into this beanstalk, and his adult self was, laying over here. But, really it was kind of this, he was so afraid, and felt like he had to do all of this stuff by himself, that when he then opened himself up to allow somebody to guide him and be with him in his process, he ended up germinating this whole thing. And it's like, your inner child's in there just living his best life.
Yeah.
And the only person who's blocking him now is you. And he's like, oh my
I don't think people realize how childhood really affects like trauma. Like it makes it way worse.
Well, the formative years, when your brain is wiring and is receiving, and if anybody who has kids, right, they're just sponges. They're just learning and absorbing it all. And so if there's trauma in there, that is so ingrained versus having who's having a normal childhood. I don't know, but a normal childhood, and then experiencing trauma, in your late teens or on a job or anything like that. It's a very different experience.
I think the other thing too is like we all get into this field for a reason. Maybe there are people that have had really great childhoods that are like, I just want to be a police officer or a firefighter because I want to help people and I want to serve my community. A lot of times there's a reason why you became, or you chose the field that you did. And there's some of that, that foundation of trauma already there, right? That it's like, it just kind of, continues to feed, but it's like, how can we get to those roots? And clear them out. Like even when I was, we did a presentation for the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and the chaplain was looking at our brain maps and stuff, and he goes, so wait a second. So it sounds like, like everybody's trying to put a Band-Aid on it, but like you guys are really trying to heal the root. And it's like, yeah. Like, because then, and that doesn't mean that you're not going to have trauma, like in the future. It's kind of like EMDR, right? Like we're clearing out all of this shit that you just keep throwing in the back of your truck, the bed of your truck. It's like we're clearing all that stuff out. So then when you're coming to another speed bump, you're like, all right, here's an opportunity to use my skills. Right. And I don't have all this other shit flooding me, then causing panic and, things like that.
So question I have is if somebody has a counselor that they want to bring to their session, are they able to do that, or do they have to use like
sure
you guys?
If somebody wanted to do that,
like
sure.
they're like, I'm only comfortable with this person, that kind of stuff. So I'm just trying to find out if this is like a requirement or something that's going to be a roadblock for them, or
we're going to work with anybody wherever they're at.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Or collaborating with that therapist to say, during the journey for that 3 hours, I'll be with them, or have the therapist come to the first one. And then they've established now, okay, I'm comfortable, I understand the process, and then us collaborating with that therapist to then do the integration after, so they can go to their own therapist the next day too. That's
awesome.
Yep, not a problem at all. So.
What's the best way that people can reach out to you? Do you guys have a website? Phone numbers? Like, how's that all work?
Yep, absolutely. guidedjourneys.com.
Okay.
So that's our website, and we answer the phones.
Oh, that's good.
How long does it take for someone if they want to call and they're like, they hear this and they're like, I think it's time? How long is that wait to get in to see somebody and start the process?
We can start the process within the week. Okay. Yeah, because we want to do the intake and then the med session and then the prep session and then your journeys start. Okay. So we like to lay that groundwork so that you're ready to hit the ground running when it's journey time.
Yeah, and we either answer the phones or you have somebody call you back within that day or, like within that 24 hours. Because sometimes when you're ready and you're like, okay, I'm ready to do it. And then you reach out if
they don't answer,
or something like that, it's like, okay, maybe I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And then it's
a sign. I'm not ready.
Yeah. Whatever excuse they can find to be like, well, I tried.
Yeah, there you go.
Is there anything that would hinder a person from doing your services?
So the only thing that we really, might hinder our services is if you have high blood pressure that's not treated, right? Like, or if you have some cardiovascular issues, like we may have you go to your doctor and just get a release that says that you're medically cleared. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that if you happen to, have bipolar disorder, like there are some...
Ooh, ratted her out.
It doesn't mean...
I totally did.
Well, it doesn't mean
she
that
struck me.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, it doesn't mean that you can't necessarily get it. It just means that you're at higher risk for, like having maybe a manic episode. And so we just want to make sure that we're monitoring and we're, you know, like really kind of taking this a little bit
And you're
seriously.
stable on your medication.
And you're stable on your medications.
So like if somebody's on an SSRIs or anything, is there anything that they need to worry about with that?
So we provide like a kind of a 48-hour guide, right? That's like, you know, within 48 hours, do this, prep for this, you know, within 24 hours, you know, do this. These are the medications that, you know, like maybe like with stimulants and stuff, maybe you're not on it for, you know.
Don't take your medication that day.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's fine to resume the very next day. Unless there's something that like blood pressure medication you have to take, you know. But for the most part, if you're off your medication for that day or even taking it after.
Yeah, because we've
your
talked to people in our group that are on SSRIs that they're
Yeah.
kind of like new into the game, and they're like, I can't even do this right now just because, you know, my doctor said I have to do this. And it's just, I want to make sure that people that are hearing this can find other options to work around that.
And it's not that there's going to be an interaction. It's that it might mute the experience.
Yep.
So it's not that there's a bad drug or interaction or anything like that. So if you don't take it just the morning of your treatment, then fine.
Like some people take SSRIs and they're like, I don't feel anything.
Yes, I was just going to say use the word mute, and I'm like, that's pretty much what the medicine does.
Yep.
Right.
And then it's like, and then, you know, ketamine's kind of, you know, designed to like help you feel joy and the feelings and take the panic button off. But it's like, if you're muted,
Right.
it's like,
But then a lot of clients have significantly decreased or gotten off many of their medications, right? Because that's what you're on a medication for, is because you need that constant drip of medication to keep you muted or stable or what have you. So when we rewire the brain, then you don't necessarily need that medication anymore.
and it does the same thing, right? So SSRIs just work a lot slower than ketamine would. Right. So it's still trying to change the chemistry of your brain and trying to like balance out those chemicals. But it's a slow process, which is why a lot of times with medications, you don't feel any different until, you know, like a month out, because it's like it's a slow working process where ketamine's just like, let's go.
Yeah. No, and that's the other thing too, is people need to realize like there is healing in the world, and you don't want to just be numb to everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really like that you guys incorporate families too,
Yes.
or because we talk about, you know, secondary PTSD all the time. That's a lot of the stuff that we do in our programs is incorporating, you know, spouses and kids, because they're not usually involved. And then you have the one person who's getting treatment, and then everybody's like, well, what the fuck?
Right.
You know, we're all screwed up now. So
Right.
Yeah.
And why the fuck do you get healing?
Yeah.
And I gotta sit here and
now,
fucking deal
now
with all
you're
this shit
all
by
happy
myself.
and we're all fucked up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
I did a
there's-
father-son team. Did father-son. That was really awesome.
so can you do a bro to bro?
Sure. Hey, whatever your relationship is none of my business.
I think the goal is to explore our relationship.
This
You
might
can do
open
that
some-
as well.
This might open a lot.
That's usually ecstasy, but okay.
MDMA.
That's a different
Yes,
protocol.
that's a different one. We will be ready for that when it's illegal.
Well,
Cool.
yeah, we
Yeah.
really wanted it to be accessible, you know, to like just the system. You know, I think one of the big things that we see too is like, and I just had this conversation with a police officer where it's like, it sounds like y'all are just, you know, a bunch of angry kids. Like you're a bunch of angry teenagers that are pissed off, you know, and then it's like, and you guys are all siblings. So it's just like, oh, you're a pussy over here. Oh, you can't, you know, and it's just like, you guys are just on each other's shit. I was going to say something else.
Yeah. Slid that one through.
You know, and then it's like, but that's that colonoscopy. What happened there?
Full circle.
But it's like, and that's why we're really wanting to, because it's like when we work with angry teenagers or difficult teenagers, like there's only so much that you can do with them. Right? If you're not working with the parents, if you're not working with the system, if you're not working with, you know, the people that are in power that are making these policies and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's not just about, you know, for us, yes, we want to be able to heal and like help people kind of navigate through this, but we're also wanting to like educate and really kind of put the benefit out there, destigmatize and like and get in there and like talk to the people that are in power, like present and really kind of help this whole system wide, you know, experience. So we're there's only so much you can do if the environment doesn't.
Right. You're
Yeah.
just going right back into the shit every day.
Yeah. And it's a slow process. I've been trying to fix the system for a while, and they don't like that.
Well,
People don't like that.
I mean, you guys are probably battling more of the pharmaceutical type stuff and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is you don't want to have a fix or a solution for a problem when you have people that are making money off of
Sure.
sustaining it. So
Well, then there's the other part of that is, well, this is who I am. This is all I know. So if I were to heal, that's almost scarier. Because then what? What the hell does that mean?
I also think
what does that look like?
Some of those people that you're referring to, I also think their hesitation is if they acknowledge the problem with everyone, they have to acknowledge the problem within themselves, and there's no problem in me, so nobody else should have the problem.
I'm fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I think part of the problem with responders too often is like, as we go through our careers, our wisdom and our experience also comes online with our jadedness and our, perception of how much the world sucks. And so we feel like if we give up our jadedness, we're also giving up our experience and reality-based testing of our, jobs.
Sure.
And so I think a lot of people have that false association within the mind between experience and jadedness. So they want to keep it in some small sense instead of realizing you can keep all the benefits of your experience, but you can also find a smile a little bit along the way again.
Exactly. And it's a very connectedness. I don't know if you experienced the connectedness. That's a very common experience, just coming out and feeling just connected, connected to the world, to the universe, to others, to just a connectedness, right? Like a youthful connectedness. And so it's another, sidebar benefit.
Question on, you talked about doing the spouses. Are those individual sessions, or is that like a group ketamine session?
No. So
everybody's all doing fucked up shit.
The wife is crawling on the wall.
The fact that Veronica has no experience doing it.
Yeah, clearly none.
So it depends. It depends on the status of the relationship. But best practice would probably be to do your own journeys. So do 2 to 4 of your own journey, and then come together for 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever it is in the same room. And so I have done a couple in the same room. So, and it was amazing because they laid that's what it was. So they laid like that and held hands, and they saw each other's journeys through each other's eyes when they came out and described it. It was bizarre.
It really is. Like, and I've, so I do the same kind of thing where it's like, I think a lot of people are like, I don't know what it's going to be like, right? So it's like, I don't want my wife or my husband to be in the friggin' room with me. So having your own individual healing first and then coming together. So I usually have them like this, where it's head to head, and it's so interesting because they're like, oh, well, I only remember to bring one journal. It's like, that's fine. Because what I've noticed is that I don't need 2 journals, because the minute I write down a time and one partner has moved, the other partner moves. It's like almost like they're in sync because they've now mirrored and allowed themselves to be vulnerable and let go. And so there's a whole different connection. And it's surprising at how many times they're in the journeys together. And it's just like, oh, I'm right there. Yep, no, I'm there too. And it's like, wow, this is so cool. This is so cool. I love this work.
Yeah.
Great.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just need to realize, like, you can be happy again.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what this is doing, right? It's rewiring the brain. It's giving you that opportunity to be happy again, to not be jaded. Like,
Well, I don't think that they necessarily even know they're not happy. It's just become their way of life to just be what they are, and they don't realize they're missing the happiness. And
Right.
Well, I don't know, because until I did Bufo, I wasn't allowing myself to actually be happy. Like, I'm happy, but I wasn't allowing myself to be happy, right? I can play happy, I can act happy, I can laugh, I can do all those things, but in order to spiritually, like, in my soul, be happy, I wasn't doing. So
Yeah. It was like my 76-year-old veteran, after 50 years. And he was happy, he's happy, he's living life, but then when he came out of that second journey and just tears, just saying, I had no idea I could feel like this. That's what we do it for.
That's good.
Yeah.
So.
When I first learned NMT and was doing brain maps and stuff, like, you know, again, we all get in this field for a reason. And I was like, I'm pretty sure there are some areas of my brain that might have some compromise that I need to be, you know, like working on and stuff. And it's like and I don't ask my clients to do things I haven't actively done myself.
Good.
Right. So it's like, so I was like, okay, I got to heal this. And, you know, when I healed the first kind of area, it was like, it took me about 5-6 years. Right. Because it was that consistency. It was that, you know, I wish I would have known about ketamine during that time, you know, because then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, here's this other wound that's coming up, you know, and I had to do ketamine. And so it was just like exponentially the amount of time that it took me to heal through this one versus, you know, the other one before. So different. And I get the idea of like, oh, I don't, you know, like, what if I'm not who I am? You know, like I'm very masculine, like I have been very masculine, right? Where it's just like, you know, like boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, well, I love myself. I love how I operate. Mm-hmm. Like, why would I, like, oh, being feminine, like, oh, receiving, like, oh, you know, like, what is that going to look like? Like, I love who I am now. And then all of a sudden it was just like, as I'm going through all this healing, and now I'm like, oh my God, it's so much easier to receive than when I was putting all this effort into being the man. I'm not the man.
Right. Yes.
Like, that's not my job. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I still love myself. I still remember all of my memories. I still remember all of, you know, the trauma that made me a therapist, right? But it's like, now it doesn't elicit any response, right? It's just part of my story that now I can use, so I'm not jaded.
But you had to be that role, it sounds like, with your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense.
You know, but now it's just very interesting too, because when you shift and change, right, then it's like relationships reflect back to you parts of yourself that you need to heal, which is why when you're saying, you know, like, oh, I have to then say that there's something wrong with me,
right,
to acknowledge this, right? It's now I have to actually see the reflection, and I don't want to.
right,
right? And so it's like, as if you think of like mirror neurons, as you're changing and shifting and evolving, so does your partner, or so do the people that you would start attracting.
Family members,
right?
Kids in the house, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
My son ended up becoming like, he's like, oh, stepped into his masculine. And it was just like, I never realized how much me being like, no, right. I'm the,
yeah,
you know.
I mean, that makes perfect sense, because now the whole family dynamic is screwed up, because all these people are having to step into a role that they're not typically meant to be in, or shouldn't have to take that role or whatever. I mean, the biggest thing I've seen is kids growing up way faster than they need to, right? So now they're adults and they're still, you know, in middle school, and you're like, that's horrible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Are you good with us adding you to our website as a resource?
Absolutely.
We
Please
have
do.
like a resource page that we'll add you to. Our tech person loves it.
They're already there.
Oh, my bad.
She's on it.
We'll rewind that and go over it. So yeah, we'll make sure that people can click on your stuff and go straight to it.
That'd be great. Yeah. Appreciate
Sweet.
it.
cool.
Anything else?
Yep.
No, I
Any
appreciate
other questions?
it. No, I think I got a lot of things answered.
How's that lozenge feel?
Great.
I roofied your coffee.
I think the other thing too, you know, if people are like want more information, you know, like not just for their own treatment, but it's like for their departments or something, if they're wanting like a training to kind of, you know, decrease the stigma, you know, on it, or just, you know, that's not designed to be like, hey, come to ketamine, but just like what the benefits are, or like what the brain map looks like, or just even trauma. You know, like the stress response system and how your brain does get hypervigilant, and like practical skills. Because I think that's the other thing too, is like, okay, you know, mental health is just beaten down, right? Like with all of our first responders, mental health. But it's like, what are some of these practical applications? You know, so it's like, then they have the idea of like, okay, well, I'm going to try this first. And then if that works and it helps, great. Then you don't need to go to ketamine, right? But it's like, if it doesn't, then now you kind of have this understanding.
Yeah, but not to discredit that. What I'm saying is first responders, as soon as they feel a little bit of relief, they stop.
Yes,
versus like,
oh,
hey, I need to go to the next level. I need to do maintenance. I need to do whatever, right? And they're just like, oh, yeah, I feel better. And then they quit, and then they're like worse off.
Well, then start with ketamine.
Yeah.
Don't
Just
waste
jump
your
in the
time
deep
now.
You know, that's,
But there is a part to that because you don't want to be vulnerable and don't want to go and talk to somebody, and I don't want to go for once a week for 5 years, you know, and I don't want to be vulnerable and talk to somebody and dump my box of shit all over a therapist. It's not comfortable. Well, then that's another benefit of ketamine, to say you don't have to dump. That's all you. You're going to do all the work on your own. You don't have to tell me about your trauma. I don't have to hear about your trauma, right? You don't have to go that route. Whereas going to therapy, you got to talk about it.
Yeah. It's like,
Ketamine, you don't have to talk about it. You can heal on your own in a guided process.
ideally, we're going to talk about it, though.
No,
we're going to talk a little bit about it.
No, it's important.
We will,
you know,
but you don't
do have to face it.
Yeah, but you don't. You know, some people don't want to deep dive into all of that, and ketamine doesn't have to be. It's your own personal deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we do process through it, but
Sweet.
yeah.
We have to see how many reference to shit we actually talked about on this episode, and then maybe give out a prize. Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. All right. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.